from the top with the Steelers going to Baltimore to play the Ravens. We already saw these two teams go head-to-head against each other earlier this season. The Steelers obviously got away with one. They bested the Ravens and kind of showed them up. So I think the Ravens are going to be looking for revenge. The Steelers are kind of limping into this game, BJ. We saw TJ Watt get his ankle rolled up. We really don't know the status. I'm leaning more that he would be out, but again, we know TJ Watt is one of the toughest dudes in the league. So I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if he ended up suiting up on Saturday. So looking forward to that and kind of tracking that throughout the week. That's kind of a big factor for this game. Is there going to be somebody like TJ Watt's caliber, one of the best to ever do it at the defensive lineman position? Is he going to be able to get after Lamar? That's going to be key, paramount for the Steelers defense on Saturday. So obviously that's something we'll be watching and we're going to take into consideration as we kind of discuss this game. Ravens, coming off of a big win against the Giants, as expected, nothing out of the norm there. Dude, Lamar Jackson's having a career year. He's even, I think, in my opinion, he's playing better at a higher level than when he won the MVP last year and the first time he won the MVP. So good for him. I really love this team. Lamar as a passer, not even discussing his weapon, his legs as a weapon, but Lamar purely as a passer is, arguably one of the best right now. So good for him. They're really hard to stop offensively. Their defense is not up to par this year. It's not the same, They're 25th overall in median EPA per play allowed. But again, on the offensive side of the ball, they're second overall in EPA per play. So different Ravens team that we've seen in terms of profile and the way that they play, but solid unit nonetheless. Beatable on the defense side of the ball, but really, really hard to stop on the offensive side of the ball. The Steelers, we mentioned that TJ Watt's could be banged up. The status of George Pickens is also going to be really, really important heading into this game as well. Ravens are a 6.5 point home favorite, a little bit bigger of a spread than I anticipated coming into this week, BJ. I know that kind of threw you off a little bit as well. The model has this as a 6-point spread, 24-18, in fact. So really not that different. I was surprised by that given the nature of this game, but those injuries, the way that the offense has kind of decelerated a little bit for the Steelers comes into play a little bit. We saw this offense take off with Russell Wilson, but we've seen it, slow down a little bit. So, BJ, talking about the Steelers offense, they're going to have to show up and exploit this Ravens defense. But are you concerned that they're slowing down for the wrong reasons, or do you think that's just a symptom of not having a guy like George Pickens out there and still kind of working together on that chemistry in the passing game? What do you think?
Yeah, well, it's definitely slowing down. And, with a scheme that Arthur Smith runs, it helps to have a Derrick Henry, right? And they don't have that. And the run game hasn't been explosive. And it is disappointing that it is slowing down for sure. Pickens plays a huge factor in that. This offense and this team in general is just so top heavy. As soon as one goes out, it's pretty hard to replace that. Luckily for them, the Ravens are, 30th in the league or 31st in the league in passing yards per game allowed. So, the moon balls from Russ on the play action can be pretty effective in this game. They need to make some explosive plays in that in order to win this game.
Yeah, the Baltimore front seven is really, really strong. They'll have no problem. In fact, I think they'll really create chaos in the running game where the Steelers, they love to run the football. They're going to try to impose their will in the running game.
That can work.
it might. I mean, we saw what happened last time. They just kind of played keep away with the Ravens, and they just forced the Ravens to, they gave little time, less drives to the Ravens on the offensive side of the ball. And so it was just a ticky-tacky game that the Steelers forced out of the Ravens. So I think the Ravens are going to try and generate more explosive plays and kind of flip that narrative and do what they do to the Steelers, what the Steelers did to them in the first matchup that they played against each other. But the Baltimore defense can certainly stop the run. First overall in rushing yards per game allowed, first overall in rushing yards per attempt allowed. the reason that their defense is giving up explosive plays is because it's in the passing game. And so this bodes well, especially if George Pickens is unavailable once again. This matchup is favorable. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing implied in the point spread and the differential in both the model and with Vegas and what they have to say. I like the Ravens here. You like the Steelers to cover. I don't have any comment on the point spread, but I like the Ravens here. You like the Ravens to win here in a close one. I kind of see that too, because the way that this conference or this division is like there's never a blowout game. No matter how bad the teams may be and how bad the margin may be, it's always close. It's a rivalry game. It's going to be on an island on Saturday. Primetime game. So everybody's going to be watching, everybody's going to be juiced up and ready to go. And it's Tomlin, let's not pretend like having Tomlin on the sideline is not a huge factor for this game as well. He's going to have his guys ready. He's going to come ready to go. He's going to scheme up a good game defensively and offensively, no matter who's out there. And so I have faith in him to come out there and show up. But I think the Ravens get this one just because they're going to be more explosive on the offensive side of the ball. The one thing that the Steelers have done this well, though, is protected themselves in the passing game. They're third overall in EPA per dropback in the league up to this point in the season. So, again, some of that is due to the pressure that TJ Watt and Cam generate on the defensive line. So we'll see if that holds up on Saturday. But the Steelers are really holding their breath, hoping that TJ Watt can play. I think that's going to be paramount to Saturday's game. So, BJ, it's going to be fun. You picked your Steelers to cover, but you picked them to lose. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I mean, look, Lamar Jackson is irreplaceable. You can't let him go off platform, and he can win games by himself. Same like Josh Allen. And it's really hard to beat a team twice in a year, especially a divisional game. So that's why I've got the Ravens to win this game at home.
Did you see that they let Deontay Johnson, they didn't let him basically go, cut him, but they just said, don't show up to practice.
Yeah, you're benched.
Yeah, just you don't even come to practice.
What a bummer.
And
Must really piss people off.
I think why they're doing that, though, interestingly enough, is because if they did cut him, you know where he'd go?
He'd go back to Pittsburgh.
He'd go back to the Steelers because they are desperate for a wide receiver. He knows the scheme, and it, in fact, would help the Steelers. So, kind of smart by the Ravens, but it's insane that we have a guy like Deontay Johnson who's in a contract year, nonetheless. What is he doing? Nobody's going to want to sign him after this.
No,
it's just
no one's going to take him.
Chaos. So, nonetheless, hey, we'd like the Ravens to win in this game. It's going to be a close one. That's how it always is. But I like the Ravens here. Their offense is explosive. I mean, it's one of the best in the league. We mentioned it's second overall in median EPA per play. It's also fifth overall in offensive success rate per play. It's going to take advantage of this game and exploit the Steelers defense where they're kind of weak right now with some key injuries. So I like the Ravens in this one.